She hasn't slept in 4 days. From the shadows of her car, she watches a stranger enter a house her mother's money paid for. She's clutching a blue folder that changes everything, and by dawn, she'll decide if this man lives or dies.
I'm sitting in my car right now, parked 3 houses down from a man I've never met, watching him carry groceries into a house that my mother's money paid for. I haven't slept in 4 days. I've been called a greedy daughter by my sister and a saint by my best friend, but after what I found in that blue folder this morning, I don't think either of them is right. The perfect mother. My mother, Evelyn, was the pillar of our community. She was a deacon at the church, she ran the local food pantry, and she raised me and my sister, Sarah, as a single mom after our father walked out in 1994. We didn't have much, but she worked 3 jobs to make sure we were okay. 2 years ago, Evelyn won the state lottery. Not the massive Powerball, but a solid $5 million after taxes. We thought the struggle was finally over. But instead of buying a mansion or a Porsche, Mom stayed in her little 2-bedroom house. She said she was investing it for our future. 3 months ago, Mom passed away peacefully in her sleep. At the funeral, there was a young man in the back row. Mid-20s, wearing a cheap, ill-fitting suit. He cried harder than I did. I assumed he was one of the kids she'd mentored at the youth center. Sarah, my sister, didn't even notice him. She was too busy checking her watch, wondering when the will reading was scheduled. The betrayal. We went to the lawyer's office the following Monday. Sarah already had a brochure for a vacation home in Florida. But when the lawyer opened the folder, his face went pale. To my daughters, Brenda and Sarah, he read, "I leave the contents of my home and the sum of $10,000 each." Sarah literally screamed, "Where is the rest? Where is the $5 million?" The lawyer cleared his throat. The remainder of the estate, including the investment portfolios and the deed to the new property in Oak Ridge, is bequeathed in its entirety to Mr. Caleb Jenkins. Who the hell was Caleb Jenkins? Sarah went into a legal frenzy. She started screaming about undue influence and elder abuse. She convinced me that this Caleb person must have been a con artist who seduced our mother in her final days. We spent weeks hiring private investigators. I was furious. My daughter, Mia, has a degenerative spinal condition. That inheritance was supposed to pay for her surgery in Germany. By stealing that money, this stranger was effectively stealing my daughter's ability to walk. The investigation. I started following him. I wanted proof he was a fraud. I found Caleb living in a modest house, the one Mom bought for him. He worked as a janitor at the local hospital. He didn't drive a fancy car. He didn't party. He spent his weekends volunteering at the same food pantry where Mom used to work. Yesterday, I broke. I waited until he came out to get his mail, and I confronted him. I screamed at him. I called him a parasite. I told him he was killing my daughter by keeping that money. He didn't get angry. He didn't call the police. He just looked at me with the saddest eyes I've ever seen and said, "She told me you'd come. She told me you didn't know." He handed me a blue folder. He told me to read it before I filed the lawsuit. The twist. I went home and opened it. Inside wasn't a confession of a scam. It was a police report from 1998. Do you remember I said my dad left us in 1994? Well, in 1998, my mother was driving home late from her 3rd job. It was raining. She hit something on the edge of town. A young couple on a moped. The man died instantly. The woman died in the ambulance. They had a 3-year-old son who was left in the foster care system. My mother never went to the police. There were no witnesses. The guilt was why she became a saint. The guilt was why she worked herself to the bone. She spent 25 years tracking that boy down. That boy was Caleb Jenkins. She didn't give him the money because he scammed her. She gave him the money because she had taken his parents, his childhood, and his entire life's path. She spent her final years befriending him in secret, trying to pay back a debt that can never be paid. But here is the catch. Caleb didn't know the truth until she died. She left him a letter in that folder confessing everything. and in that folder, there was a second letter, for me. The moral dilemma. The letter to me said, Brenda, I know about Mia's surgery. I know you need the money, but I have lived a lie for 30 years. If I give the money to you, I am choosing my own blood over the life I destroyed. I am leaving the choice to Caleb. If he knows what I did, and he still wants to give you the money for Mia, that is his grace. But if he keeps it, it is his justice. Please, do not hate him. Last night, Caleb called me. He said he read the letter. He said he doesn't want the money of the woman who killed his parents. He wants to give it all to a charity for orphans. Every cent. If he does that, my daughter doesn't get her surgery. My sister Sarah wants me to join her in a lawsuit to prove Mom was mentally unfit when she wrote the confession, so we can nullify the will, take the money, and keep the secret buried. Sarah says, the past is dead, but Mia is alive. We have to lie to save her. If I sue, I win. The evidence of Mom's guilt actually helps prove she was acting out of extreme mental distress. I get the money. Mia walks. But I destroy the reputation of the woman who raised me, and I rob Caleb of the only justice he has left. The outro and engagement hook. So, I'm putting this to you. Do I join my sister, lie in court, and save my daughter's future by trashing my mother's memory? Or do I let Caleb give that money away to strangers, knowing that my mother's debt is paid, even if it means my own child suffers for a crime she didn't commit? Is a mother's first duty to her child, or to the truth? I'm reading every single comment tonight. Tell me, what would you do? Because the court hearing is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., and I still haven't signed the papers.
The folder is in her hands. If she uses it, her daughter is safe. But a man who might be innocent loses everything. What would you do? Are you protecting your family at any cost, or do you walk away? Tell me in the comments. I need to know where you draw the line. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment with your thoughts.